My name is Scott Aldridge and I'm Director here at PrimeTel AI. Today we'll be discussing the transformative power of AI within the insurance sector. Firstly, a brief overview of PrimeTel AI, the service that we provide. We are technology advisors. Essentially, we help our clients find the best fit AI technology that meets their business needs. And overcome challenges. We've experienced working within the insurance sector and understand the processes that can be improved upon with the use of AI. And by engaging with PrimeTel, we'll ultimately help you save time and money through the introduction of right first-time suppliers that we have assessed and evaluated over the many years we have been in business. We have a flexible model of engagement that first looks to understand your business, its challenges and goals. We then analyse your existing estate, providing a process map of current systems and workflows. This allows us to make recommendations of where AI can be best implemented and the impacts it will have on your business. What will the ROI be? We then support you through the supplier evaluation process, all the way through to integration, acting as an additional member of your team. Our goal is to become your trusted advisor for not just the purchase of AI technology, but through our parent company, PrimeTel Limited, we can support you in a number of different technology projects. Here are some of the other fields that our parent company, PrimeTel Limited, has and is consulting on. So if any of these areas are of interest, please don't hesitate to reach out. But today we're here to talk about the transformative power of AI in the insurance sector and some of the trends we are seeing in this space. Essentially, we've found that each user case generally fits into one of these four categories. We've got risk reduction. So AI in insurance analyzes data to predict risk, personalize strategies and automate process, reducing uncertainties and potential loss for insurers. Customer experience, AI in insurance streamlines processes, it tailors services and provides quick personalized assistance to enhance customer experience, making interactions smoother and more efficient. Insights, AI analyzes data extensively, predicting trends accurately and providing nuanced insights for insurers. This helps in understanding customer behavior, again, assessing risk comprehensively and adapting quickly to market changes, leading to improved risk management and business outcomes. And efficiencies, AI can improve efficiency in multiple areas, ultimately saving you time and money. And below are some more detailed examples of how AI can help. Here are a few more covering things like claims processing, pricing optimization, operational efficiency, regulatory compliance, customer insights, loss prevention, reinsurance, data security, market research. So there really are a number of areas where AI can assist in improving process within the insurance sector. And the suppliers that we have on today can certainly help you understand that in more detail. I like this slide. The AI market, where do you start? This is just a small cross-section of a number of providers out there offering AI type solutions, and this is growing on a daily basis. So this is where we come in. PrimeTel AI will help you find the diamond in the rough. The right first-time supplier will do the groundwork. So going back to the process that we take you through, we'll fully understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and we'll know which supplier is the right fit. So hopefully today, because we've had a few technical problems, we've lined up 3 suppliers of tried and tested technology in your sector. We have Zencor on, so if you're a Google house, these guys are for you. Even if you're not, they can give you access to the ever-evolving Google product suite. Level AI, the customer experience experts, from business analytics to agent assistance, they can supercharge your front of house teams. And Sundown Solutions, Microsoft Azure expert partners, one of a few in the UK. They will blow you away with their large language model offering. So first up, we hopefully have Zencor. Oh, that's James. Hold on 2 seconds. Are you with us, James?
I am with you, yeah. I don't see anybody from Zencore though.
Oh,
so,
apologies. I thought you were
yeah,
James
that's
from
fine.
Zencore.
No, I'm from Google.
Okay, apologies.
So I think you should have Damien from Zencore. I'm assuming he invited me to join on the call, but I don't see him on. But
no, Damien wasn't able to make it.
Okay, fine. Well, let me dive in. So James Lord, hello, Paul Botwright. Long time no speak. How you doing? Yeah, James Lord. I've been at Google Cloud for over 4 years, working within our insurance practice. So solely focused around how we solve for transformation within the insurance industry. I've got a couple of slides, but I'll give you an intro, and then we can dive into where's relevant. So really, we think about our work across both London markets and commercial lines from 3 areas. So first of all is modernized platform. So obviously, a lot of insurance companies are very traditional in how they in how they operate. The insurance industry as a whole is probably a laggard compared to many of the other industries, such as retail and telecom media. And so we think about how we can help them in terms of modernizing platform, understanding how they can use data that sits in siloed proprietary systems more effectively. Second way is really around, I guess, what I would term automation and kind of business process re-engineering. So it's about looking at how they actually perform tasks today, and are there smarter ways of doing that. And that's really where the whole Gen AI and large language models that's kind of been in the fore for the last year have really come to change how we all think about that. And then the final one, which is probably the most interesting and most fun, but probably the longest cycle, is around innovation. So, or finding things that are new. So, how do we help organizations either find new ways of looking at different risk assets or risk allocations? How do we find new markets for them? How do we find new businesses for them? And what does this really mean in terms of going on a journey with Google in order to drive that? And there's a number of examples I can talk to on that. So how long do I have, Scott?
You've got about 10 minutes.
Okay, fine. So let me just bear with me. Let me pull up a deck, and I'll fly through a couple of slides. I'm not going to kill you. I wasn't sure if Damien was joining, so I didn't manage to talk to him today. Okay, here we go. Share. So let me know when you can see that. I'll put it on slideshow.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, cool. So one of the things we talk about with all of our clients is really that as consumers, we've all been using AI for some time, right? Whether it be in search, whether it be in some of the other, it's your Netflixes, your Spotify's, right? So AI isn't new, and certainly when we're talking to insurance and also companies and their sort of risk management teams, risk officers, we shouldn't be scared of AI because it isn't new. But what it isn't is just automation. It is about goal adaptive behavior. And what I mean by that is, how do you take something and how do you use the machine in order to learn and improve on a continuous basis, right? And obviously that's been taken to a new level with Gen AI. So we talk about some of the things that we're already doing across insurance, and again, you've touched on some of these in your previous slide around claims processes. How can you speed that up, make them more efficient, make them pay out of claims quicker, but also make sure you're not paying out fraudulent claims. Okay, building personalized products. So how do we target people better? How do we make sure that James Lord is actually being targeted in terms of whether it's healthcare or life insurance or whatever it is, making sure that you can use different data points in order to ascertain how you can achieve that personalization. Climate risk, huge one around our work, our platform, our Earth Engine. So if you've ever used Google Earth at home or with the kids, in effect, that's part of a bigger piece called Earth Engine, which is hundreds of thousands of nodes across the planet, collecting all sorts of data and making it into formats that insurers can use to aid their risk assessment. Traditional processing processes. Again, how do we use the machine more than the human? And then contact center AI. which again is around how do we make sure that the linkage between the human and the agent and the bot is as seamless as possible, so that we as consumers do not get frustrated by not getting the answer we need when we need it. Okay. Oh, there's a build slide, but if I look at that on a bit of a wider basis, this is kind of the one slide that I tend to put up with clients around where do we engage and how have we engaged. And the linkage with Zencore, of course, is that they are a GCP partner. They were built by ex-Google engineers out of the US originally. Damien has taken on the role as managing director of EMEA. I used to work for Damien at Google. But really, we look at, if you take in sort of the value streams within the business, understanding what the specific focuses are, what's driving those changes, what does that mean in terms of what you're trying to do, there's a bit of an example of some of the companies where we've delivered solutions. And equally, as you highlighted, right, the partner ecosystem is really important. Everything we do, whether it be execution in delivering what I would call core GCP services, or whether we're doing something that's a little bit niche, is all about partners. Yeah, we do have a small professional services team that come in to do certain requirements, but it's the likes of Zencore that actually deliver these things, and using other partners' technologies for specific. So if I give you an example, TensorFlight, which is in the yellow column, you know, they do analysis around residential properties and using photos and kind of geospatial information in order to aid risk management within some of the commercial large insurers, right? So they've built that on Google Cloud. They provide kind of that software as a service, and then other customers will come in and build that out. Just an example. And kind of on the bottom piece of the slide are those key themes that we see across all insurers, whether it's personal lines or commercial. I can't see you as I'm whizzing through the slides, so if there's any questions, please shout out or raise your hand.
Yeah, if anyone's got any questions, you can put them in the chat or
yeah. So I'll just dive into a bit on Gen AI. I mean, we can have a few day session on this, right? Especially with some of the new announcements. A year on, we all know a lot more about Gen AI than we did for sure, right? And it was relatively new, and we're probably all using it at home and helping with the kids' homework, etc., right? But it has really changed the game in terms of driving quick use cases, and most of those are around the operational efficiencies. How do we do things smarter? How do we do things quicker? How do we use the platform to ask questions and expand what we're doing, right? So rather than just writing my essay on World War II, I can now ask it questions with regards to specific industries. What are the changes? How do we start to look at that? Or I can start to look at, I'm going to see my customer, give me a full breakdown of what their last 4 years of sustainability sort of perspective is within their annual reports. You know, all this information at the sort of touch of a button, so to speak, without having to trawl through reports or websites like we used to. So, you know, this is changing literally week by week, month by month. So I can't tell you what's going to happen in 6 months' time, but it certainly is the space to be. In terms of what it could mean. So again, here's 12. There are more than 12. There are actually, I think we have something like 130 now on our global insurance group, right? But these are kind of 12 use cases that we look at in terms of, I guess, what I'll call top level ones, and where people are actually saying, yeah, we've got a use case there. We want to use the technology. How do we start to access it? I call that process automation already. I was at a transformation summit last week talking about automation and AI. You know, still lots of organizations have not really automated what we would call manual processes. So they're still having a human go and do something that could be done quite easily by even just using APIs, right? That's not AI, that's just use of automation. When you start to add AI on top of that, you start to think about how it can spot for errors and spots for missing data, and make suggestions, and really sort of what we call become a guidance angel. Then it starts to get interesting, because if you take some of these large traditional insurers, you really start to think about how much what we call how much toil they have internally, how much wasted time they have in terms of humans doing things, repeatable tasks over and over again in order to fix problems that actually you could probably fix at source, or to some extent by using some of the Gen AI tooling. All right, so I'm not going to dwell on that unless there's any questions. I know Damien did want me to talk about the work that we've done on key insurance. So if you just give me 1 second, because I've put a few slides together. I'm just gonna whiz through to that, and I will share with you again. Hold on, rather than bore. Yeah. So here we go. Oh, lost you now. I need to tab back. Okay, let's share the tab again. Let me know when you can see that again.
Yep, got it.
So if you come back to what I was talking about in terms of those 3, I guess, value propositions, right? Yeah, modernization, being more efficient, more effective, and driving something new. Back in 2019, we started working with Brit Insurance, which is the largest Lloyd's of London only syndicate, right? And if you know about the market, you'll know this is concept of what they call lead follow. So it's like a shared risk across different insurance carriers to ensure that, you know, they're going to have coverage, they're going to get capacity. And most importantly, none of them go underwater, right? The most famous one is the Titanic. We worked with them on what we call digital insurance for the future, and that was really mapping out ultimately the processes that happen. And what from start of when somebody makes a quote, a broker comes in and says, I want you to quote on this, all the way through to actually the buying process. And what we found is that it was terribly inefficient, no surprise to anyone. And I use this concept that 80% of everything that happens in the process across the market is all human, and it's all paper based, right? And what that means is time, and what that means is errors and other things, right? Excuse the drilling in the background, I've got building work going on. So what we did is we took the notion of using our good old friend Pareto to say, if we flip that to 80% automated, 20% human, and we can argue the percentages, what would that look like? What would that mean? Okay, and the result out of that was we launched, or Brit launched, a new business called Key Insurance, which was the first digital syndicate within the Lloyd's market, which is a 300-year-old traditional marketplace, as many of you will know. Okay, so that was launched and it's been running for a few years now. And it was really around, how do you change the behaviors of the way that brokers actually place their business? How do you actually make it simpler? How do you actually use technology in order to streamline the effectiveness of what they're trying to do, which is understand, is there capacity in the market? Do we meet the criteria? Have we provided the information? And do we want to offer this to them, and do they want to accept it? And so we helped Key build this platform, not on our own. They worked with UCL from an academic perspective in terms of the rules-based algorithm. Well, we helped them create this digital syndicate, which was really around achieving these 6 areas, right? So expense efficiency. Biggest problem in the Lloyd's market is the expense ratio, 40%, right? It's the highest in the world. How do we help reduce that? Underwriting performance. How can we make sure that you follow good risks or good syndicates, and then how do we ensure that the broker is getting a strong experience in terms of using the platform 24/7 anywhere in the world, so they don't have to go on the Lloyd's floor anymore. And there's a number of others around sort of, you know, how the algo works and all that sort of stuff, but really it was around changing the way that the market starts to think about using technology to effectively automate, but then learn from those automations and improve it, right? So that was a little bit of insight from Key. I put this slide in because we quite often talk about technology, and the reality is if you're not sort of satisfying for any of these things, then really the talk about technology or one technology over another is useless. It's around use case identification to understand, are we really removing that friction? Are we really making James's life easier? Yeah. Are we really helping provide optimized insights? And what that means is that a lot of people come to us and say, hey, we want to do this cool thing with AI. And we're like, oh yeah, okay, that sounds amazing. But you know, the cool thing with AI and machine learning is kind of step 5 through a process. And it starts with step 1, which is, do you know what data you have? Yeah, what's the quality of your data? What governance have you got around where that data sits, and how it's tagged, and is there an inventory? Because you need to do all those things up front in order to really drive the maximum output in terms of AI, machine learning, and all that good stuff, right? But ultimately, again, what are we doing that for? Simplifying those processes, make our lives easier, right? Make our customers' lives easier, make our workforce lives easier, and improve productivity, increase revenues, and kind of eliminate as much as we can in terms of wastage of time and human minds when they could be doing something far more crucial. Okay. And there's a number of others that examples on top of the ones that key. You saw some on the previous slide, but again, where we've actually enabled them to do things in a smarter fashion. So Travelers, which is a big strategic partnership now, but understanding how they can use data to understand risks in a quicker fashion, make recommendations to the underwriters, and provide opportunities to quote faster. Because often, depending on the asset class and all that sort of stuff, often the first to provide a quote or the first round of quoting is the one that wins the business. Not always the truth, because in something like cyber, that's a totally different market, but often that's the case. So if you can help people quote quicker, then ultimately, hopefully the closure rate will be quicker, right? But you need to make sure that the data that they're making their decisions on is correct in the first place. One that I worked on that's not on that list last year was our strategic partnership with Prudential, out in Singapore, which was all around accessibility and affordability of healthcare insurance into third world markets. And again, understanding really who's your user base, how are you enabling a platform. If you think about Vitality, right, that we have in the UK, similar to that, although they would shoot me for saying that, but similar in terms of how do you understand your user market, how do you make something where you can provide data points for people to be aware of what their health status is, and then accordingly they can go and look for health insurance for them and their families, whereas once they wouldn't have been able to. How do we use devices like Fitbit in order to help drive things like that? So loads of fascinating areas around, as I say, that modernization bit, which is how do we move on in terms of technology, how do we think about those processes that we want to optimize for, and how do we think about innovation and kind of the cool stuff, which is a bit further down the road, but certainly can be done. And I will pause there.
Brilliant. That was really good, James. Clearly a wealth of knowledge and experience in this sector, and that's why we wanted you guys on to present, and a great option. If any of the people on the call have got, if any of that resonates, then we'll follow up and we'll set up more of a deep dive session, because there's lots of areas to explore there. But thanks. So yeah, next up we have Richard at Level AI.
Yep. Good morning, Scott. Good morning from across the pond. Good afternoon to everybody over there. Thanks very much for having me. So yeah, I'm Richard Schumann with Level AI. Give me 1 second here. Trying to share here, and we're having a challenge with Teams, but 1 second. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, sorry, pardon me 1 second. Here we go. Now can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so start over. Richard Schumann with Level AI. So a lot of what was just talked about really resonates within Level AI and what it is that we do. We are a native AI-based technology platform squarely focused within the contact center. So our role really is to help innovate, improve, and enhance the customer experience within the contact center, utilizing a true state-of-the-art native AI technology tool within the Level AI platform. The design is to drive efficiency, productivity, scale, and it's really to help the agents perform their duties better, be more efficient, and just make the overall experience for the customer improved. We do that utilizing various tools for agent empowerment, customer assistance. We provide deep analytics and insights so that you can see trends of activities occurring within the contact center and respond to those in an effective and timely manner. So some of the reasons our tool has been so effective is that what we hear from every one of our customers currently today and the ones that we're working with bringing on board is that they're looking at taking the contact center, what has traditionally been more of a cost center or a reactionary organization within a business environment, to one that is more proactive, one that can generate revenue, one that can generate insights and help the overall organization perform better at a higher level and improve customer efficiency. And some of the reasons that's been a challenge is based on the back end. There's been a real lack in the ability to effectively train, ongoingly train, and support the agent on how to respond and help within a customer interaction or environment. So when we talk to our customers, we hear typically that a lot of them only have the ability to review maybe 1 or 2% of all conversations that come through the contact center. The QA process within a contact center is a very manual process in a lot of regards. We still hear about customers that use Excel spreadsheets to monitor that. And I'll talk about some of the early adopter technology that's risen and how we differentiate ourselves and how we can take that 1 or 2% and quickly elevate it to 100% to improve efficiency. We can also bring proactive insights. So instead of waiting weeks, months, quarters to find out what's been going on within the contact center, we can deliver information hourly, daily, weekly, and be able to trend that information so that you can see if there are issues related to cancel accounts or if there are issues for refund requests. Instead of waiting long terms to see that, we can bring that information quickly and effectively so that you can respond to it in a timely fashion. And then the other aspect is one of the things we found is there's actually a tremendous amount of turnover within the contact center. It's one of the entities within an organization that has the highest rate of turnover. We've had some customers tell us as high as 85%. So if you can imagine the amount of time, effort, and money that it takes an organization to replace a headcount at a turnover rate of 85%, that's a big issue for a lot of organizations. So what we're seeing post-implementation of the Level AI platform is we're able to do two things. One, we're able to reduce the time it takes to train an agent, typically by 60%. And at the same time, we're able to improve the agent's job satisfaction rating because we're now providing them with the tools, the guidance, the insights that they need to do their jobs effectively. And then one of the biggest aspects is voice of the customer and how we can set our AI model up to trend that automatically and see the most frequently used conversations, what customers are saying. We can attach a sentiment score to every interaction within an organization. And then we can also adhere to various regulatory compliances. Insurance and financial sector are very big to us. So it's an area we're very familiar with working in. So how do we do that? This is where the kind of the rubber meets the road, right? A lot of companies, like I mentioned early on, had been using spreadsheets to try to find conversations to uncover and learn what their customers are saying. And some earlier adopters in this tech space have been using what's called text mining, natural language processing, where you create a library of keywords. So if the concern is that you want to track cancellations within an organization, you might look for words like cancel, terminate, end, disconnect, a variety of words associated with cancel in order to track those conversations, cross-reference them against recordings and interactions to find them, and then bring them forward. The challenge with using something like text mining or keyword searching is it'll lead to a lot of false positives or false negatives because human interaction, human conversation has unique nuance. The way somebody in Scotland or Ireland might say something could be completely different than the way it's said in London. And so what we do is we spin up what's called an intent model, where we're actually training the AI to understand the intent behind human conversation. So that if somebody calls up and says, hey, Scott, I want to cancel my account, anybody today with all sorts of technology can find that conversation because you'd focus in on the word cancel. But if somebody called up and said, gosh darn it, I'm just so sick and tired of you, I don't want to use you no more. I never said the word cancel. I never said end, terminate, or disconnect. I just said, I don't want to use your product no more. In that case, you'd have a really difficult time with traditional methodologies finding that conversation. Within the Level AI platform, because we're training the AI to understand the intent, our our AI model will flag that as a cancel account threat. In the inverse, if I were to call up and say, hey, Scott, I love your product, and I really don't want to cancel, but I'm traveling overseas and I can't use it for the next month. Can we just put it on pause? In that case, I used the word cancel, and in a traditional model, that would be the conversation that would be pulled up, when in fact, it's actually probably a happy customer. It's not has anything to do with a cancellation. Again, our product would not flag that as a cancellation and bucket it accordingly. So the areas that we primarily focus within are things like quality assurance, automation, and coaching. That's typically where 90% of our customers start the Level AI journey. And then they typically look at a couple different areas like customer service intelligence. They want to start taking that contact center and turning it into a contact center intelligence. So many people for so long don't realize how much data flows through a contact center and how much information can be extracted from a contact center engagement. And so that's one of the things we do is we use our AI model to find various trending topics and conversations and issues to uncover that and help an organization perform and support better. Then, of course, screen recording and adherence is a big thing. So we can do screen recording. We can record up to 3 screens on an agent desktop and pair that with the audio track. So now a manager or an auditor or a reviewer can go in and not only listen to what the agent did, but they can see what their movement was, what screens or areas within the organization they went to try to solve a problem. And of course, because we operate heavily within the financial and insurance sectors, we can do redaction on audio, on screen recording, as well as transcripts, and make sure that there's security and privacy with information. Then from there, we start to get into things like voice of the customer insights. We also have what's called an agent assist model, where the AI will listen in real time and provide guidance and support to that agent. It'll recognize key conversational topics, excuse me, and guide the agent through the conversation. We've also been using over the last year generative technology to develop real-time assistance within the AI platform, as well as a product called Agent GPT. So think of Agent GPT like a chat GPT, except that it's built for a unique, every business's unique instance. So we're not going out to the internet and pairing it with information consolidated from the internet. We're only using internal data that the customer already has. And within that model, the AI will self-learn and will also learn from feedback that it gets from the contact center agents themselves. So an example would be as if a contact center agent asked Agent GPT a specific question, it'll give the agent back 3 different outlines of how to solve that problem, questions they might want to ask the customer to get to a resolution. And if the agent likes solution 1 over solution 2, they can give one a thumbs up and one a thumbs down, and the AI model will learn from that. It'll also learn as more information flows in to ticketing systems, to CRMs, to learning management systems, to FAQs, all of that. It'll continually learn and grow. So where do we play, right? Why would you want to use our platform? Well, it's really about growing. It's about being more efficient and more productive within your organization. So to give you an example, one of the customers we do a lot of business with is a company called Swiss Re. They're based in Zurich, Switzerland. And they came to us about a year ago, and they were really struggling with the ability to their attach rate for their internal agents to upsell opportunities within their organization. For a little bit of background, Swiss Re is located in Zurich, and they're one of the world's largest reinsurance, insurance, and insurance-based risk organizations. They're in 26 different countries, worth about $27 billion. And so for them, even if they could attach a 1% increase in their upsell capability, that means millions and millions of dollars of revenue to them. And at the same time, they wanted to have an effective ability to coach their agents on how to overcome objections, how to retain customers as well as upsell. And so they looked at various AI-based platforms. They actually looked at 6 different AI platforms, eventually choosing Level AI. And over the last year, they've already seen such an increase in efficiency and productivity. They started small, to be honest with us. They only brought us about 600 seats to begin with. But with that 600 seats, they saw such a dramatic increase in revenue growth, customer satisfaction, review ratings, and internal productivity that within the last 90 days to 4 months, they added 1,500 additional seats with us. They started with English language and really challenged us by opening us up in their second call center, which is in South Africa. So we had to actually train our AI model to understand Afrikaans, or the South African language dialect, which we did. It took us about 3 to 4 weeks to train the model to understand that nuance, and that contact center has been running efficiently. Now what they're looking to do in the next iteration is to roll us out in all 26 countries. I believe Spanish will be the next one, which we have native Spanish language operation within our tool today, as well as Portuguese and a variety, French and a variety other languages that we can support within the AI model today. So yeah, I mean, you can see we have a host of companies around the globe that we deal with. CNO Financial is a US-based one, but they have Bankers Life and a variety of insurance companies. We do healthcare, online retail, you name it. But I'll pause there for a moment, Scott, because I think I'm getting close to my time to see if anybody has a question.
No, you're good, Richard. I think because we had some technical issues at the start, not everyone's been able to get on. So I'll do is I'll enable the microphone for everyone, and we can maybe make this a bit more of an interactive session. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, or if they want to talk about any kind of real world challenges that they're facing, please feel free to speak up. You just need to unmute
And as
yourself.
always, if they have anything, or if anybody even wants to see a demonstration of the Level AI platform, Scott, they can reach out to you, and you and we can get that scheduled and show them how it actually works and how it can identify nuance in language. So
just one thing before we move on to the Sundown presentation. I just want to cover off an offer that we've got for everyone on the call. So PrimeTel AI, as I mentioned, we help companies find the right technology in this space and the right suppliers. And we've got a team of experts that will sit down with you and run through everything. So we take it through this 3 stages, which is the evaluation report, so understanding what your challenges, what your goals are, and then we build that into the technology report, which will match the relevant technology to that challenge. And then we take that through to the final stage, which is then matching the supplier to the technology that's needed. It is quite a detailed process that we go through, and here's just kind of an example of what that looks like in terms of the technology report with the process mapping. Typically, this is something that we would charge for, but what we're doing on the call today is that anyone that's potentially interested in taking up the offer of free consultancy, if you want to just indicate in the poll, then we'll follow up with a call and take you through the process and give you an idea of what we can potentially do for your business and how AI might be able to help transform it. So if you're interested in setting up a free consultancy session, please indicate. So yeah, next up we have Matthew at Sundown.
Thank you very much. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear.
Perfect.
I'm going to share my screen now. As a Microsoft house, if I can't get Teams working, that's probably going to be a faux pas. So hopefully everyone can see my slideware. How long have I got, Scott?
You've got till the end, so 20 minutes with Q&A. But like I said, it's open forum now. So if anyone's got any questions, just shout out or
yeah, please do. Happy to converse. So, I mean, first and foremost, I'd start with I think echoing a lot of the content that the previous speakers have so eloquently shared. I guess we're coming at it from Sundown's perspective, as Scott said in his intro, from a Microsoft and an expert, Azure expert MSP footing. So I'm going to cover off a few aspects of that today and talk around our experiences with our client base. I'll try and skip through these slides. Please don't get scared. This isn't going to be a death by PowerPoint. Really briefly, but again, these slides can be made available afterwards as well. So again, don't feel like you need to screen grab or take notes. So we're a Microsoft house. We were formed back in 2009. Started life off as a Microsoft training academy, which kind of is of relevance now as we talk about, as the other speakers have talked about some of the change aspects of implementing AI. But at that point, those of you who are old enough on the call to remember, the recession hit and people stopped buying training. So the company at that point pivoted to become a focus more around Microsoft development, came to the attention of Microsoft themselves, and ended up being working directly for Microsoft for 4.5 years of our tenure as part of their product group. So we have a Microsoft engineering heritage, very much so. Realized, after a period of time that there was opportunities outside of directly working for Microsoft, and set the organization up as it is today, which is 3 main pillars of the business: projects and consultancy. So working closely with clients and partners such as Scott and his team, looking at organizations that have a Microsoft tendency, have a Microsoft presence, making sure it is optimized, secure, and ready really to move forward and exploit the latest technologies that are being announced by all the technology vendors at the moment. Secondly, we support those clients, and are very proud to be one of a very, very small number of UK headquartered Azure Expert MSPs. I still have the grey hairs growing that got us to that point, or helped to get us to that point. And finally, a development capability, which is around extending and augmenting native Microsoft capability. So, dyed in the wool, but very much looking forward and how organizations best leverage and exploit and investments in the Microsoft ecosystem. I've covered a lot of this off already, so I'm going to skip through these. But as I say, really starting with those projects and consultancy engagements, helping our clients understand the best abilities to leverage technologies, be that AI, be that Copilot, be legacy investments or significant investments in the likes of SharePoint, for example, some of the new developments in ID management, for example, which Microsoft are evolving as well. So, access to a real range of expertise and pragmatic expertise as well. So we recognize that organizations, are in different places with different market sectors and different aspirations. So whilst we will always look to make our clients as secure and as compliant as possible, the business lens on that is absolutely critical to us. As per the topic of today, I don't think I've done a call, a meeting, a webinar, a presentation where I'm not mentioning AI at the moment. And really this slide as well hones in on a topic a little bit that I think is important and was touched on by some of the other presenters. There's a lot of decks out there and a lot of presentations that have AI applied to it, and it's my first point is it's not always AI. So we shouldn't forget around about machine learning. We shouldn't forget about data visualization. We shouldn't forget around exploiting and those data sets that you've got. AI absolutely has a role, and I'll come on to talk about that obviously with the focus of today. But again, there are multiple flavors of AI, multiple models out there, and multiple ways of deploying AI, be that some of the large language models, or be that resident within solutions like the last speaker is deploying. Copilot, again, from a Microsoft perspective, you won't go onto any Microsoft presentation, webinar, speaking event, or website page without Copilot being mentioned. It is everywhere at the moment, and understandably so. I think one of the confusions with Copilot a little bit is that there are many Copilots. There is not one. So again, M365 Copilot has been talked about. There is also Security Copilot, there's GitHub Copilot, there's Azure Copilot. So again, if someone's talking to you about Copilot, the chances are the first question you're going to need to ask is which one. And there are obviously differences in how they're implemented. Organizations really in different places, different paths. Again, and very important given the earlier speaker, I've got obviously a box there saying Microsoft Cloud, but other cloud platforms are very obviously available. And again, I think I've always said this, that sometimes it's the right cloud for the right workload. The right AI tooling for the right workload is also very applicable. I think and I'll try not to be too divisive on this, I think the big technology players would say that it's fine. Everyone now has digitally transformed. You know, organizations are fully in the cloud, fully digitally transformed. So the next evolution is exploiting the use of AI. Again, you know, from a Sundown perspective, and we see this with our clients, digital transformation kind of doesn't end. It's still an ongoing process with organizations at different levels of that journey. So we see, you know, organizations that have lifted and shifted into cloud and now are trying to, you know, sort of refactor, reorganize and reorder what they've moved up. We see other organizations that, due to legacy, due to cost, due to latency, due to a number of reasons, are still, you know, still have a footprint in on-prem as well. So I think it's important to realize that, you know, every organization is unique, as should be their use of AI. And I'll talk about that as we go forward. What I've obviously got to put in one, you know, a slide to talk about client base in any deck. So Sundown, really, our experience has been drawn across working with a large number of historically public sector and regulated industry clients. That's our core focus. We have outliers like any organization that are not regulated industry, but we have a real focus on organizations where data sensitivity and, you know, employee sensitivity and security are absolutely key. And that becomes increasingly important as we look to exploit AI and as organizations look to exploit AI, because that importance, and again, the previous speakers have alluded to this, the importance of data classification, of user access, etc., is only furthered by the use of AI tooling within businesses. So again, we have a broad range of experience, you know, spanning the financial services industry, including insurance, but then, you know, informed by large engagements in other organizations, including the public sector. So we have quite a wide lens on what's required. So skipping through slides, conscious of time, we have two phrases we use a lot, and again, you know, refers to some of the slides earlier, readiness and enablement. So, you know, coining a phrase from Judson Altham at the recent Envision event in London, you know, the summary of that really is garbage in, garbage out. AI otherwise can just give you an awful lot of confidence in decisions that fundamentally aren't correct. So it's important how AI is applied within a business. I'm not going to spend long on this slide today because of time, but this is really shows the different layers that we see in the market of that build up of AI and of generative AI in particular. How do you mix together the right recipe? And I've used this analogy before. For me, AI is often a recipe. It's how do we mix in, you know, the right data sources, the right underlying models, the right usage and prompts, and that includes that that sort of process change, that education piece with users, because like any technology, you know, if you ask it, you know, incorrectly, or you don't ask and phrase your questions and your prompts in the right way, you're not necessarily going to get the optimal answers. The analogy I used recently is, you know, for me, AI is often a case of, imagine you've got 12 experts in a room and you ask them all exactly the same question. They're not going to give the same answer. They may not even give you the same answer the following day or an hour later. So, you know, you'll get the right information or a good piece of the right information, but it's not always going to be the same. So again, it's a different way of engaging where users need to understand it's not, you know, 1 + 2 = 3. There will be nuance and variation in that. So again, it requires some thought on how you're building that up within your businesses and how to keep that differentiation. So often really talk around this theory of applied innovation. So, you know, it's about your business is being informed. So actually, what is the impact and potential of AI, not just on you, but also on your clients? You know, what's the experience change for your employees and for your customers? It's then about the preparation angle. So how do you safely, securely, appropriately, compliantly, in the case of insurance as well, absolutely, you know, exploit that potential of AI. And ultimately, the phrase I hear a lot from CIOs, CTOs, and CEOs at the moment is the FOMO phrase. It's the whole fear of missing out. There is absolutely a need to be responsive to what is a changing and dynamic market, which is only being accelerated by AI, but it's doing it in the right way for your organizations as well. At Microsoft House, and I'm going to cover this briefly, and again, it alludes to some of the other stuff we've already talked about on the webinar today. there are absolutely fundamentals that need to be addressed no matter what AI tooling you're putting in. I was on a call yesterday with a large organization, or in a meeting, so with a large organization that is one of the early adopters of Copilot, for example. And that Copilot decision was made at board level, perhaps without the full awareness and participation of their IT organization. And, one of the things with Copilot is that it sits across your entire tenancy and looks at your entire data set. So if that data set isn't properly organized, the data classification, metadata, etc., isn't organized properly, then unsurprisingly, Mavis on the front desk will find a document that she probably shouldn't be accessing. So again, that whole ability to be prepared and ensuring that the foundational elements are right, both in terms of data and user access, is key. Data in particular, if you're using it against internal data sets, sharing, duplication, labeling, staleness, and capacity are all absolutely key factors that need to be addressed as part of this move towards AI, no matter how targeted. Talked about this already, so I'm not going to sort of label too much on this one. But again, the stories of hallucination. It was I saw it was the most popular word, or the most sort of creative word in terms of the Cambridge Dictionary this year was hallucination in the context of AI. There are reasons for that. It is definitely a risk in terms of not curating your data sources, both internal and external, correctly. Use cases. One of the things we talked around today, and one of the purposes today, was understanding how AI can help transform insurance. And again, James and other speakers have talked about this extensively. And I've talked already about whether it is in truly AI or not AI, the use case. But really, the use cases we're seeing amongst our clients are around leveraging existing data and institutional knowledge. What's the IP in organizations? What makes that organization unique, competitive, differentiated? It's about leveraging that IP that's been built up over a number of years effectively. We have an organization in the financial services sector, pension group at the moment, for example, where they have internal repositories of knowledge that have been built up over the last 10 years. And the thing they were struggling to do was to leverage that. It's very intrinsic to them, very important to them, and again, highly confidential. So we've applied a language model variant there, which just sits within their tenancy, looks at that data, and has a tuned persona that allows them to interrogate that data safely, securely, but intuitively to get that information and that understanding. And again, that's massively accelerating things like learning, knowledge dissemination, and then actually the processing of engagements with their clients. Acceleration and informing those internal processes, and that can be broad or very focused. So we have organizations who've deployed, again, purely to their HR organization to look at HR and compliance documentation. In the claims management world, we're seeing people having an ability to compare, for example, various documents effectively and intuitively using natural language. That goes a step further by allowing them to support reasoning and qualification. So again, one of our clients now is looking at screening documents and looking at differences, for example, between the opinion of a doctor on a claim and the opinion and the content of the individual, and using natural language reasoning and selection, looking at the differences in those. So again, helping to accelerate that qualification and using the reasoning capabilities of large language models. And then finally, we have other clients who have extensive documentation where they were having to go to external, legal third parties and the other to do comparison exercises. Again, absolutely a sweet spot for this type of technology to be able to say, actually, obviously summarization is well known, but also comparison capability to analyze those documents and give a critical understanding of the differences and variation between them. Finally, I would say, obviously, in terms of outbound, the likes of, the chatbots and things like that we've already discussed. Again, that ability to automate and make efficient outbound communication, being well publicized, both in financial services, but also in sectors such as legal, for example, where that sort of baseline documentation, production, and communication can be greatly, augmented and assisted by AI. We do have our own solution in this. slightly terribly named Project Shirker. I've with somebody who, when if they want to be bored stupid, I can talk them through the naming of that. But basically, like a number of organisations, we're using our expertise around securing individual, organisations' tenancies to have an open AI LLM built within your own tenancy, and with an ability there to determine exactly what data it's interrogating, how it's been interrogated and for what purpose. Again, that's based really on your own tenancy, so it's dependable and known as your run costs. It can start very small, so those organizations, for example, who can't go for Copilot yet or don't want to go for Copilot yet because they aren't on an enterprise agreement and don't have 300 licenses, you can target this at a specific use case, specific user group, specific persona. And we're seeing that massively assist organizations, especially in the process and people areas. So it will give them the technology, absolutely, but it allows them to understand the impact on their business, the value, the business case, the compliance, the governance, etc. as well. Really obvious, really conscious I'm close on time. The other final area as well, and this has been covered off already, is the business change around this. Whatever you look at in terms of AI, doesn't really change the fact that you need a clear use case. You need to be able to demonstrate and measure business value, and that's where Scott and his team at a starting position will help identify that before determining which partners to bring in. It's then not a fire and forget activity. That quality and consistency in the long term is really important with AI models, which can degrade, they can be enhanced. Also, I wouldn't, encourage obviously the horror stories in the press about, well, I've put this AI in now, so I'm going to get rid of this complete team. You still need that human capital, that human resilience, that human intellect within that business. So it's about using AI to augment, assure, and accelerate that. And then, final point really, don't make your business become standard. Your differentiation is what gives you market advantage and market positioning. So use AI to help that, not to remove that by making everything vanilla. And I will take a breath and stop speaking at that point. Sort of whistle through that, Scott, because of time, but hopefully that
that's fine.
Has provoked some thought.
Yeah, no, it's really good, Matthew. Yeah, thank you. We've worked on a number of projects with Sundown over the last year or so, and always been really impressed with their capabilities. Shirker is a tool to behold in terms of what it can provide businesses and how it can really harness the power of large language models and generative AI. But yeah, like Matthew said, it's where do you start? And it's understanding, like I've said a few times now, is what challenges you've got within the business, where your business is going, looking at what potentially can be automated, what could be improved upon, and that's really where we'll come in and help you. So on the hour, on the dot. So thank you to the presenters today. Thanks for taking your time out, and thank you for those that joined and are still with us. I hope you all have a good rest of the day.
Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.